Imagine waking up one morning in Kathmandu and finding that WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, basically everything you use to talk to friends, to study, to work, or even to call family abroad has stopped working overnight. That is exactly what happened in Nepal on September 4th, 2025. The government blocked 26 social media platforms. Within hours, thousands of young people filled the streets. Police firing left more than 20 dead. On September 9th, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli had resigned, but angry protesters went on a rampage, setting government buildings on fire, including Parliament and the Supreme Court. At first glance, this looks like a story about a social media ban. But if you look closer, it is about something much deeper, about a generation that feels abandoned, about an economy built on migration, and about a democracy that has never delivered stability. The spark was simple. On September 4th, the government ordered internet providers to block major platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, YouTube, and X. The official reason was that these companies had not registered locally or appointed grievance officers. But for young Nepalis, this felt like an attack on their voices. Social media here is not just for entertainment. It is how people organize, how they expose corruption, and how millions stay in touch with family working overseas. So when the apps went dark, students poured into the streets. They wore uniforms, carried placards, and called their agitation a Gen Z movement. At first, the marches were peaceful, but then came the crackdown. Police fired tear gas, rubber bullets, and even live ammunition. By the end of the first day, at least 19 people were killed. That moment changed everything. Behind the ban was a controversial new law called the Social Media Regulation Bill. On paper, it promised to make online platforms safer and more accountable. In reality, critics said it was vague, harsh, and dangerous. The bill said anyone posting content that could harm national unity or self-respect could face up to 5 years in prison. But those terms were never clearly defined. Activists warned that this was a tool to silence dissent. Many compared it to Bangladesh's digital law, which had been used to jail critics. So when Oli's government moved to enforce the ban, people saw it not as regulation, but as censorship. But the protests quickly grew beyond social media. Videos went viral showing politicians' children in luxury cars shopping abroad and flaunting wealth. At the same time, ordinary people could not find jobs. This contrast gave rise to hashtags like Nepo Kids and Nepo Babies. It became more than just a protest against a ban. It became a fight between a frustrated generation and an elite that seemed disconnected from reality. To understand this frustration, we need to look at Nepal's economy. Nearly 1 in 5 young Nepalis is unemployed. Each year, thousands apply for foreign work permits. According to the 2021 census, about 2.16 million Nepalis were recorded as living abroad, almost 8% of the population. And their money keeps the country afloat. Remittances, money sent back home, make up over 1/3 of Nepal's GDP, the 4th highest share in the world. Families survive on this income, but it also means Nepal's economy depends on people leaving. Farms lie untended, industries remain weak, and many of the country's best minds never return. So when social media, the lifeline connecting families at home and abroad, was suddenly cut off, it struck a nerve. Economic frustration alone might have been enough to spark anger, but in Nepal, economics and politics are inseparable, and politics has its own story of instability. Since Nepal adopted multi-party democracy in 1990, no government has ever completed a full 5-year constitutional term. The country has seen nearly 30 different governments in just 35 years. Every time alliances shift, scandals erupt, leaders change, but little improves. For young people who grew up hearing promises of a new Nepal after the monarchy was abolished in 2008, this endless instability felt like betrayal. The latest example was Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, who resigned in September 2025 after just over a year in office. His fall was not unusual. This was just another reminder that in Nepal, governments collapse, but the problems remain. Amid these crises and instability, pro-monarchy voices have tried to strengthen their campaign. The monarchy was abolished in 2008 after King Gyanendra tried to seize absolute power in 2005, a move that sparked massive protests. But now, pro-monarchy parties like the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party are staging rallies calling for the return of the king and even for Nepal to once again become a Hindu state. But the movement itself is divided. Without clear leadership, the risk is that this anger could be hijacked by monarchists, by opportunistic politicians, or even by anti-democratic forces. Internationally too, neighbors like India and China are watching closely while global tech companies such as Meta and Google face pressure over how to respond. Nepal may be a small country, but its crisis has caught the world's attention. What began as a ban on apps has turned into something much bigger, a revolt against corruption, joblessness, and decades of political instability. Nepal's Gen Z has shown its strength. But whether this movement leads to democratic renewal or drags the country into deeper chaos depends on what happens in the weeks to come. For now, Nepal stands at a crossroads between the failures of the past and the hopes of a restless new generation. The question is whether this anger will rebuild democracy or burn it down. That's it for today's video. If you have any feedback or suggestions, write to us at videos@thehindu.co.in. Thanks for watching.